Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. I had a big day of baseball. 6 was the operative number. Let's start with the Yankees first. It wasn't pretty. At times, it was downright ugly, but the Yankees found a way and opened up this series against the Royals with a 6-5 win, getting a couple of solid performances out of the pen. An inning and two-thirds out of Holmes, who obviously has been relegated to a supporting role after having such a tough time in the closer role, blowing 13 saves this year. And now the man of the moment, Luke Weaver, who has become for the Yankees a basically a vital cog in what they have to do. Tonight he came in and got a 4-out save, struck out 3 of the 4 batters, got a ground out for the last one. He has thrown well in September, and the Yanks, you can see, are starting to buy in to him, and you want to watch as these games progress. And in this series, you're going to get a lot of the premier pitches and a lot of the closers because of all the crazy off days. If this series goes 5, there's off days on Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday, which is highly unusual. So you have 3 off days in this series, which means the relievers are going to get plenty of rest. You're going to get key relievers in the games, and you're going to get well-rested pitching all the way around because of the time off in between games. They don't play tomorrow. He's going to be a vital cog, and they're going to ask him to do a lot. And you want to see how his confidence, how his presence grows. This is a guy who's been a journeyman. This is a guy who now finds himself in a pivotal role on the grandest stage there is, the Bronx, in October, with a chance to be a major, major player in this. And scene 1 worked out very, very well. Now, as we said, Kansas City has got to be kicking themselves. They gave the Yankees, or they were unlucky with some of the balls they hit so hard early off Cole that got caught, including a great catch by Judge. They ruined an inning by getting Perez thrown out at the plate for the first out of the inning instead of having the bases loaded. Just a ridiculous rock by the third base coach. How you can send Perez, who cannot run at all, with Tommy Pham coming up, who owns Cole, and no out. It's just, you can't be that dumb in big spots. Those plays will get you beat in these games. That was a pivotal moment in that game. The other thing was they came out of the pen and they continued to hand the Yankees passes one after another after another. You can't walk 8 guys. You can't walk 8 guys and expect to win a playoff game. That's all there is to it. They had 6 relievers come in and they walk 8 Yankees. It can't happen. If you're going to do that, you're going to lose. You can't walk people in these games and walk people in front of good hitters and everything else. Now, tonight, Kansas City did a couple of things well. They shut down Judge. They shut down Stanton. They both had many opportunities. Judge had an opportunity, more than one opportunity to break the game open. He went 0 for 4 and struck out 3 times. Now, all of a sudden, you are going to hear, and this is what happens when you are someone like Judge and you are as big a person as Judge is. I mean, Judge is the star of stars, along with Ohtani in Major League Baseball. And if you are going to perform to a far lesser degree than you do in the regular season, it is going to come back to haunt you, and it will build and build and build. So for game 1, this has been a theme going in, his struggles in the postseason, and it continued tonight. So until he ends that with one of his dominant performances that we've become so used to, a 3-run jack in the first inning, 3 or 4 extra base hits in a game, a typical Judge game. Until that happens, he won't quiet the critics, and they will get louder and louder. Now, one guy who always seems to be there in the postseason, Stanton usually is. He had a bad game tonight. Torres hits in the postseason. He hit in September. He did a good job when he was having a miserable season. He made a lot of errors. He got thrown out on the base paths repeatedly. He always pulls a lot of rocks. The bottom line is he was having a miserable year. They put him in the leadoff spot, and he flourished. And he got better and better. And tonight, he's on base 3 times. He hits a 2-run home run. So he scores a couple of runs. He knocks in a couple of runs. You get that out of him at the top spot, that is a big deal. And the other guy who helped himself tonight was Verdugo. Now, there's been a lot of people who don't want Verdugo in the lineup. And he's there because of his glove. And because of the fact that Dominguez is a bad fielder, they would rather play defense. And tonight, Verdugo not only got 2 hits, got a big RBI, scored a couple of runs, but also made a catch that would have been a double if Dominguez was in left field. I mean, he almost bobbled the ball. He did bobble it, but he almost didn't catch it. He made a very nice play on it. He's a very good left fielder. We've watched him make a lot of good catches. We've watched him turn a lot of doubles into singles. We've watched him throw a lot of guys out. We've watched him play very, very good in the outfield, which is why he's playing, because he's been an automatic out since June. But tonight, a couple of big hits, gets on base 3 times, makes a good play in the field, scores a couple of runs, knocks in a run. That's going to keep him in the lineup. Now, Cabrera was okay at first base tonight. Defensively, he did strike out 3 times. I'm sure the Yankees would like to get Grisham into play in center field, but that would mean Judge playing first base. If Rizzo's going to be out all year, I don't think they would make such a move because Judge is such a superior outfielder. Now, Grisham's a tremendous fielder. We know that. So you're not losing anything, but you're even gaining by putting him in the outfield. You can't move Soto, who's not a good right fielder and is really a DH, but is a great hitter. He can't play first. I wouldn't even think of that. I don't know unless they've been playing with Judge at first base, which I don't know that they've been doing. But if they have been, that could be something they look at, but I doubt it. They really don't have an answer at first base. So something they can really live with. And that would allow them to insert Grisham into the outfield if they could move Judge to first. But I think it's a long shot. Maybe it's something they toy with later in the playoffs. I don't know how. I don't know if Judge has ever fooled around at first base at all, or if he spent any time there at all. It's not as easy a position to pick up as you think. The thing about first base that people don't realize is, number one, you can save a tremendous amount of errors for the other people if you can play the position, move your feet, and handle low throws. The other thing is you are involved in so many plays. You're involved in a tremendous amount of cutoffs. You're involved in all the bunt games. So it's a very active position. It's not a position where you can hide people. It really isn't. It's a position where if you play well defensively, you really create a big plus for your defense. So it's not a position that you give away. And Cabrera clearly looks like he can especially handles the low throws. He doesn't look pretty at first base, but he gets the job done. He's serviceable. And he plays the throws pretty well. He's got a little bit. He's not going to make you forget Keith Hernandez or Wes Parker or Don Mattingly, but he definitely can play there. And I don't know how long Rizzo's going to be out. I don't know if we're going to see him again this year or not. We'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. But right now, I think that's who we're going to have to live with at first base for the time being. Cole was bad tonight. Okay, I'm not the biggest Cole fan. He got hit hard. He got lucky. Getting that catch by Judge, getting some Adam balls. They hit a bunch of balls that were hit really hard right at people. And the Perez being thrown out at the plate, which was just to me, the kind of mistake you just cannot make in a playoff game. Why would you send him with no out? He can't run. He's a wonderful player, but it's like he's carrying a piano. He cannot run. You don't want to ever send him. I just don't get it. But it really impacted the game. And then so did all the walks, which allowed the Yankees back into the game. They did a very good job on Judge, as we said, and on Stanton. The Yankees did a very good job on Witt, who went 0 for 5. Perez only went 1 for 4. So if they can get 1 for 9 out of those two, they can't win. Really, Witt, Pasquantino, and Perez 2, 3, and 4 tonight were 1 for 14. They can't win that way. They have to get better than that. But they were in this game because they got performances from a couple other people, including Melendez, but they hit a lot of hard balls. Pham he's a proven hitter. He just is. He's a tough out, and he can hurt you. But you can't come in. And they had 6 relievers, 6 pitchers overall, 5 relievers come in the game and just walk people like crazy, and that can't happen. They have to play. See, they're not as good as the Yankees. They're not as deep as the Yankees. They're not as powerful as the Yankees. So they have to come in, and they have to have their key people play well. Their bullpen has to pitch well. They have to catch the ball, and they have to get hits out of the key guys in their lineup. They didn't get that tonight. So the Yankees get a 6-5 win in Game 1. Game 2 is Monday. Now to the Mets. And the Mets was, hey, what it tells you is that it was another day of the magic carpet ride. When you are going well, when everything is clicking, you win games like this. I mean, there's a game that for 7 innings, you can't even touch Wheeler. He gives up a blue pit in 7 innings. He gets 30 swing and misses. 30 swing and misses. He strikes out 9 guys. But the key to this that's going to get overlooked in this victory, in this comeback, and everyone's going to dwell on the comeback. The key to this was, while that was happening, 3 Met pitchers. Senga, who pitched 2 innings, gave up the leadoff home run. Other than that, he threw 2 innings. Peterson threw 3 innings. He walked a couple of guys, but didn't give up a run. Garrett threw 2 innings. So they get 5 innings out of Peterson and Garrett, and they don't give up a run. So while Wheeler is completely dominating that game, he leaves the game. It's not a rocking chair game, though, because it's 1-0. It's a 1-0 game as Hoffman comes in the game in the 8th inning. And you know what happens? The Mets do it the way they do it. It wasn't somebody hitting a bomb. It wasn't a Lindor home run or a Alonso home run or a Nimmo home run. It was a walk, a base hit, a big RBI hit from Vientos, who continues to get big hits. They throw him an 0-2 curveball. He hits it down the left field line. Nimmo then comes up and obviously gets a big base hit. Alonso gets a sac fly. Then Iglesias and Martinez get a couple of base hits. Marte gets another sac fly. Next thing you know, the Mets have put up a 5 spot. They had a run. They give up 1 in the bottom of the 9th. They don't have to pitch Diaz. And they go on to a 6-2 win, coming from behind again. So think about this week. Think about what they did in Game 1 in Atlanta on Monday. Then think about what they did with the shot that really rocked baseball. The Alonso 3-run homer, which, like we've said, is one of the big home runs in postseason history. And then today, they come from behind again in the eighth inning. Come from behind in consecutive postseason games in the eighth inning. You hear me? I've talked a lot about this in the last 2 weeks as we got ready for the postseason, and I've said to you, seventh inning is hard. The eighth inning is harder. The ninth inning is harder when you are trying to shut teams down and close out games and close out series. And you saw it the other night in the ninth inning in Milwaukee. You saw it today in the eighth inning in Philadelphia. And you will see it repeatedly. You saw it with the Tigers in Houston. You'll see it time and time again. Name relievers, big time relievers, big time pitchers, big time bullpens, big time closers not get the job done. You know what the odds are for Milwaukee when they go to the mound in the ninth inning with a 2-run lead and their closer on the mound? But their odds are to win that game. How many times in the postseason, though, have you seen how different it is? Because now it is so pressurized. It is no longer just, you know, doing it by rote as you do on a July day. Now there's so much on the line that every pitch, every out, every 3-2 count, every walk, every base means so much. And you see these games changing. You've watched the Mets now come from behind against Atlanta, come from behind against Milwaukee, come from behind against Philadelphia. An amazing display. And it just shows you how difficult it is to shut these games down. And now that pressure will fall as it did tonight to Weaver. They went to him in the eighth inning, got the strikeout to end the inning. He was going to face the good part of the order, Massey, Witt, Pasquantino. He didn't have to face Perez in the ninth. He gets a strikeout. The Witt 3-2 pitch, and that was a good confrontation. I actually thought it was low. I'm surprised they rung up a superstar player on that one because I thought it was low. I thought he had a gripe. Could have gone either way. You want to make the old adage, too close to take. Okay, he's trying to get on base there. He's trying to get on base, steal a base, and build a run. I understand what he's doing. He was annoyed. If I were in the batter's box and I were Witt, I would have been annoyed too. I would have thought it was ball four. I think it was ball four, but it doesn't matter. It was right there. It was close enough that it's not egregious that it was called ball four. I mean, that it was called strike three. It happens. Sometimes it goes your way. Sometimes it doesn't. We've seen times, right, when the pitch isn't called a strike. Tino Martinez, who then hits a grand slammer off of Langston. And I'll tell you right now, because I just saw something on that game recently, and that pitch was a strike. It really was. I was sitting behind the plate that night with Dog, and we had a bunch of people with us. But if you ever wondered if that pitch was a strike, it was a strike. I mean, there was no question about it. It was not a question in the world. It was a strike. The Yankees got a gift there. But if you know, the Yankees got many gifts in those years. But the reason you remember them as gifts is they always took advantage of them. It's only a gift when you take advantage of it. You might get the break, but then what comes next is what makes it a gift. Because if you don't get the job done, it's forgotten. No one ever thinks about it again. But the call is thought about for a long time when you follow it up with some big hits or a home run or whatever, and they wind up winning the game. So the Mets get a win in Philly. And not only that, get a win on a day where they are dominated, completely and thoroughly dominated by Wheeler. But realize, Schwarber hit the Phillies led 1-0, one swing, one strike into the game. And they didn't score again until the game was long over in the bottom of the ninth. Give the Mets credit for what they did out of that pen. They did a tremendous job of keeping the team in that game, which made that rally possible. If that game's 4-0, 5-0, it's got a whole different feel to it. At 1-0, it doesn't. There's pressure on that reliever. If it's 5-0, he doesn't feel that pressure. At 1-0, he feels that pressure. He squeezes that ball. He walks that guy. And then he gives up that base hit. And next thing you know, the Mets have a rally going. A good rally. On their way to a 6-2 win. The other night, a 4 spot in the ninth. Tonight, a 5 spot in the eighth. And the magic carpet ride continues. And you can just sense the confidence building in this team. You can just feel it. And again, the thing you take from it is how many different people contribute on this roster. You know, Alonso didn't have a hit today. He had a sac fly. Lindor didn't have a hit today. He had a run scored. They get it, though, from so many different spots, so many different guys who come in the game late and contribute, come in the game late and get a base hit, all hands on deck. And you know what? That's how these things happen. When you utilize every inch of the roster, and you're seeing that from this team. And there is clearly a growing confidence in this team that they're never out of a game and that something positive is going to happen. And that's something that builds in teams. We've seen a transformation with this club. I don't think there's any question about it. You know, when a club gets this, it's special. It's hard. It's hard. It doesn't happen often. You'd like to bottle it, but you can't. But some teams just seem to have it. And today, when they are, overpowered for 7 innings and turn around and get a W in that game, it's a very, very big win. There's no question about it. The Yankees get a win in game one. Obviously, this series is one where the Yankees are a decided favorite, the biggest favorite of the fourth series by far. Cleveland was the smallest. They were impressive today, especially with their pitching. They jumped on the Tigers early, and it was never a ball game on their way to a 7-0 win. And in the other game, they've exchanged. They're in a slugfest. It's 6-5 right now in the middle of the game. And, Manny Machado's homered and Otani's homered, and they're going back and forth there with, they put up 3, they put up 3, they put up 2, they put up 3. Right now, the Dodgers lead 6-5 in the middle inning. So there's a lot of baseball still to be played there. And that's going to be a highly contentious series. Hey, I don't remember, and I said this the other day, I don't think I've seen a time where there were 8 teams alive and every one of them had at least a chance, a puncher's chance to really have a good run. There was nobody that was out of it. The Tigers had shown so much. Even though the Tigers and Kansas City's lineups aren't as good as, say, the other lineups, we know how good the Yankee lineup is. How good the Dodger lineup is, and we know how top-heavy the Yankee lineup is, although it's not great top to bottom. And the Met lineup is much deeper and longer than the Yankee lineup. So is the Padre lineup. but the Yankees do have big stars, so we know what they can produce. But Kansas City and Detroit, and sometimes Cleveland, were the teams that you knew could struggle to score some runs and have to produce and get it from some unusual spots, especially Detroit and Kansas City. And Kansas City, I think, was the worst statistically. I think they were the worst team in Major League Baseball in September offensively. They really struggled. They struggled for a long time, and even games they won late, they won with very few runs. So they've had a lot of trouble scoring. And Cleveland, which has superb pitching, jumped all over the Tigers today. Now they have their kid going, their phenom going in game two. So we'll see where that takes them. The Tigers do. If they don't win with him, they're in, very, very big trouble. They put a lot of pressure on him. But hey, I think they've come to expect that with him this year. So round one goes to the Yankees. Round one goes to the Mets, even on a day where Wheeler was overpowering, which tells you where the Mets are right now. Now, we'll be with you tomorrow after football. We obviously have the Met game tomorrow, too. The Yankees are off tomorrow. They play Monday. Mets play at 4 tomorrow. Then the Dodgers play in prime time. The Tigers and Guardians play at 4 on Monday. The Yankees and Royals play in prime time. And obviously the Jets are playing tomorrow morning in London, 9:30. We'll be with you after the game, and it's a big game. I mean, these next 2 weeks, considering how bad and how poorly the Jets played and how poorly they were prepared and how many mistakes they made and everything that went wrong in a Denver game that should have been so winnable. They really need to get that back. And you don't want to see them going into the Buffalo game, although Buffalo has a lot of injuries tomorrow going into the Texans. A lot of injuries, key injuries. They are very banged up. Raiders are very banged up tomorrow. Bills are very banged up tomorrow. You don't want to see them losing this game tomorrow and then taking that into the Buffalo game. But Minnesota's 4-0. They've played well defensively. Flores has orchestrated that defense very well. They blitz a lot, so expect that tomorrow. And obviously, they have a very good attack that has been tremendous over because they've beaten San Francisco, they've beaten Houston, they have beaten Green Bay, they've beaten quality teams. They're 4-0. Only 2 unbeaten teams in the league, and Darnold has 10 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. Minnesota has turned it over 7 times, which is a lot, but they have forced 10 turnovers. So their defense has taken the ball away a lot, and they do blitz. Only one team in the league blitzes more than they do. They blitz like 42 point something percent of the time. And the Jets are going to have to handle Minnesota's, not just handle Jefferson, which is obviously a big problem, but they're going to have to handle Minnesota running game, Minnesota screen game, and just play with a smarts and a crispness that hasn't been there. I mean, that game against Denver was such a step backwards that it really if you're a Jet fan, had to bother you. And they need to snap out of that tomorrow and show that that was an aberration. I don't know if it is. You worry about their coaching staff so much. You really do. And Rodgers, a lot of people think they're hiding now an injury to his knee. Hey, if he were really hurt, I don't think he'd be playing. I don't know what kind of condition that field will be tomorrow. I'd like to see him run around less, get rid of the ball quickly, go to the quick passing game. But they've got to run the ball. You need Breece Hall to get his game going. He has been atrocious. And their running game has been just invisible to this point. That's a big game tomorrow. Giants don't have neighbors tomorrow. Um, they're banged up in other spots, including running back. Singletary, I believe, is not going to play either. I know Neighbors is out. I think Singletary's, if he's not out, he's close to being out. Don't expect him to play. I don't know the 100% that he's out. I do know Neighbors is out. So the Giants have centered their offense around Neighbors so much that that's going to mean it's going to take a lot tomorrow for them to win in Seattle. It really is without him because he's already become such a focal point of the offense. So tall orders tomorrow for the locals. We'll cover that and the Mets tomorrow. So we'll see you then.